I mean, I knew eventually at some point, you know, given my job, I was going to go to war, but I didn't expect it to be that quick.
And that dramatic, I guess.
And it was very traumatic. They attacked our country, and we were ready. The men were ready to go that day if the call came.
And we watched as the second aircraft struck. And for about 5 seconds, everybody thought they were running a loop. That was the same strike again, and then you realize both towers were burning. And we were kind of the same way. We were like, you know, here we go.
Communication going outside was very limited.
And you didn't have the mobile communication or the social media stuff that you've got today.
That you got today. And I remember I had several friends that were from New York, and they could not get through to their families in New York because, I mean, all communication was shut off. And, it was surreal. It was very, very nerve-wracking.
That day, the most searing memory to me was when I finally got home, probably 11:30 or midnight. My wife and I went out to sit on our back deck. Dover sits under the flight path, depending on which way the winds on the East Coast are blowing. Underneath arrival and departures into D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York.
So one of the busiest flight paths in the country.
But normally very busy. You know, there are always airplanes in the sky, and we were out there at midnight, pitch black night, and not an airplane flying until we saw one single airplane. I watched it come from Dover's about 7 or 8 miles in from the coast, and I could tell it was coming from out over the Atlantic. Came over Dover, disappeared for a few minutes, and left and went back, and then we saw it come again, and it was probably up in the mid 20,000 foot range. And I realized that was an airborne warning and control airplane doing a combat mission over the east coast of the U.S. And that really kind of brought it all home for me.
Our sense of security has definitely changed since then.
I mean, even for civilians traveling on domestic airlines flights.
And I always tell my father, every so often he travels overseas, and I tell him, go on the State Department website, make sure everything is good where you're going. If it's not good, don't go.
How's our world changed from your perspective?
I'll start with a relationship between the general U.S. population and the military. You know, at the end of Vietnam, that relationship was very strained. Recovered a lot during Desert Shield and Storm, and I think since 9/11 has gotten even stronger. A lot of people don't realize, though, that the U.S. military is about 1% of the population that actually is prosecuting a war against people who wish to do us harm. The other thing I would say about the current generation military, and it's all services, probably 90% of the soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines in today's military joined after 9/11, knew that they were joining a military at war, knew the hardship they were signing up for, being away from families, and they still raise their right hand and come in, and I think that's pretty impressive.